Hello again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on our website, firedupwithbobirwin.com, as well as the American Guns and Glory Network, YouTube, and numerous other media. A new show is posted every Thursday at around 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Our audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. Check out KELY1230.com for a station in your area. Questions or comments, send an email to bob@firedupmail.com. That's bob@firedupmail, one long word, .com, or leave a message on my office recorder. That is 702-257-1060. Again, that's 702-257-1060. If you do leave contact information, I'll respond by email, text, or telephone. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms every week in the United States, rarely truthfully or fully covered by any mainstream media. We always present a few for our listeners' education. Most are good shootings. Sometimes they're questionable. Sometimes they're wrong. But they're all educational to those of you who own a firearm you keep for self-defense or carry on the street. Individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law, so the advice here might not apply to listeners in different jurisdictions. Stories are often paraphrased for clarity by translation from police jargon, what I call lawyer speak, or regional accents into standard American English. Incidents are as reported, except the names of those actually involved are generally omitted. This first story comes from Fox 29, a reporter named Steve Keeley, on June 6, 2020 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Investigators say 4 men arrived at the firing line gun shop on the 1500 block of Front Street at 4 in the morning in multiple cars. The owner of the shop was inside the building safeguarding his inventory after reports of a recent spate of looting in Philadelphia. We've all seen all that on the news. Officials say the owner of the gun store, Firing Line Inc., was inside the business guarding it because they had experienced a recent break-in attempt. The store owners saw them on surveillance video and then heard them coming up the steps of the store. The intruders were met by the gun-toting owner, who fired 3 shots, fatally wounding a 29-year-old and striking another once in the shoulder. Chief Inspector Scott Smalls said one of the individuals that broke into the property pointed a handgun at him, and that's when the store owner fired his own weapon. He hit one perpetrator at least one time in the head, and he collapsed, dropping his gun between his legs. Responding medics pronounced that man dead at the scene. At least 2 or 3 other individuals involved in the burglary fled the scene. A pair of large bolt cutters were found at the scene. Obviously, they're burglary tools, of course. The men fled the building and one sought medical treatment at Jefferson Hospital. That 17-year-old suspect gave a false report about his gunshot wound. No kidding. And police soon connected it to the attempted robbery. It's really common when you go into a ER with a gunshot wound. Whatever you say, they're going to call the police anyway. Cops still need to confirm that the connection exists, so they're waiting for the bullet to get the bullet from the surgeons they're taking out of this guy. District Attorney Larry Kashner said the owner's actions were justified. The facts we know and the law are clear that the business owner's use of force while inside his own property against a burglar accompanied by others who were entering with a gun in hand was justified. The DA stated that in a news release for the press. The investigation is still ongoing. No word on the other 2 suspects as yet. The constant orders from the left side politicians, if obeyed, to abandon your property to avoid confrontations would certainly have caused a ton of firearms and ammunition to be out on the streets of Philadelphia. the injuries and death to innocent citizens that would have resulted in a terrible toll. Encouraging store owners to abandon their property is a really bad idea. This next story comes from the Daily Journal reporting June 4th, 2020 in Boonville, Tennessee. Prentiss County Sheriff Randy Toller said the deputies responded to an altercation in the Wheeler area Tuesday night, but were unable to locate the suspect. A resident called 911 around 8:30 the next morning, saying he was near the Wheeler Head Start following a suspect from the night before. The caller stayed on the line as best possible, keeping dispatch posted on the subject's location and direction of travel, as well as explaining his erratic behavior, Sheriff Toller said. The suspect went to a nearby residence and started assaulting a female. The caller confronted the suspect and shot him twice. Deputies arrived shortly thereafter and incapacitated the subject. There was a bit of a fight and he tased him and so forth. Toller said the actions were like his actions. Sheriff Toller said the actions likely saved the woman's life. While waiting for ambulances to arrive, the suspect admitted he had beaten an elderly man in his nearby shop, the elderly man's shop. Deputies responded to that address and found a man clinging to life. Both victims were taken to North Mississippi Medical Center in Tupelo. The suspect was airlifted to Region 1 Medical Center in Memphis, Tennessee. Sheriff Toller added the female victim was treated and released Wednesday evening. The male victim is in a coma in critical condition. The suspect is reported in stable condition. Charges have been filed against the suspect for 2 counts of attempted murder, Toller said. He will be transported back to Prentiss County upon his release from the medical center in Memphis. The sheriff added the investigation is ongoing and he is not ready to release the name of the suspect. Now, it's always a risky thing to follow the suspect, but in this incident, it proved absolutely correct. The two lives were saved. The erratic behavior was so pronounced that it led to a correct decision to follow the individual while the cops were coming. Once the first attack was underway, the shooter defended the victim, was clearly justified, and he saved 2 lives. I will always advise people not to get involved and follow suspects. In this case, it turned out to be a really good idea. We're going to break here for a brief word from some of our friends and associates. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. And I'm back. This next story comes from WPXI Channel 11. A reporter named Mike Holden with Cox Media reported June 4th, 2020 in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania. Police are investigating after an apparent home invasion. The incident happened around 10 in the evening Wednesday on West Bellcrest Avenue in Brentwood, according to the Allegheny County Sheriff's detectives. A 71-year-old man and a 62-year-old woman who lived there called 911 for a reported deadly home invasion. Investigators determined a 30-year-old male had confronted the homeowner outside. The homeowner went back into the apartment and the intruder followed him in to the property. That's when the police said the homeowner grabbed a gun and shot at him at least 3 times. The intruder tried to flee from the home before he collapsed outside and died. When officers got there, they found the 38-year-old male dead on the sidewalk outside the apartment. Allegheny County Police are asking anyone with information to please come forward, of course. Unlike the TV shows and movies, when intruders are shot, they normally turn and run. Commonly, they make it outside onto the driveway or the front lawn. Few gunshots are immediately lethal without penetration of the brain or the brain stem. The body being outside sometimes causes the shooter to drag the body inside to make the crime scene look better. Given the blood spatter, drag marks, and other evidence, the crime scene investigators can easily tell where the shooting took place and the sequence of events. Don't ever attempt to fix it. Lying to the cops about what happened can put you in their crosshairs. Identify yourself, but wait for your lawyer before explaining how the event unfolded. Identify, that's it. Wait for attorney's advice. You're going to be in a horrible mental state and say something really stupid. Don't talk other than identification. This fourth story, CWB Chicago reported on June 1, 2020 in Chicago, Illinois. A Logan Square store owner with a concealed carry license fired shots at hammer-wielding looters when they confronted him in his shop early Monday morning. The owner of the shop decided to stay in an apartment above the store in the 2700 block of Northwestern this weekend to watch out for looters. Around 4:20 a.m., his fears materialized. Awakened by the sounds of breaking glass, he grabbed his handgun and rushed to the store downstairs with another person with him. There, he saw a group of men wielding hammers. Surprise. He told them to stop, but they started surging toward him instead, Assistant State's Attorney James Murphy said in a court hearing Monday evening. The shop owner told police he fired his gun to make the men back away, but he didn't know how many shots were fired. Most of the men ran from the store, but the owner managed to grab one and handcuff him. So he fires, then he handcuffs one guy while everybody else is scattering. That 22-year-old is charged with felony burglary and is on parole for possession of a stolen vehicle. Local Judge John Like set bail for him at $75,000 and ordered him to go into electronic monitoring if he can post a 10% deposit bond. Before he is released, however, the Illinois Department of Corrections will decide if his parole will be revoked. About $800 worth of merchandise was taken in the incident. A lot of looter stories on this show, but that's what's going on. The left side idiots have told all merchants to abandon their stores to make the world safe for looters. If you do that, your inventory will be gone and likely your shop will be burned to the ground. Looters do that to destroy fingerprint and DNA evidence, so they always burn you out after everything is taken. You have built and created jobs that will be destroyed. Studies show neighborhoods die and usually never come back completely. These looters are actually destroying America This really needs to stop. On that note, the latest theory from the Democrat governors and mayors is to defund and close police departments. This is all over the news tonight on all channels and last night. They would replace police departments with social workers trained to respond to violent situations and talk the perps into discontinuing their mayhem. Think of it. No police officers will respond when you call about a home invader, domestic battery, missing child, or a murder. Under United States law, the government is required to provide for citizens' safety. They must provide aid and comfort. So if there are no local police, the state government must provide assistance. So the state, by law, I don't want to get into all the legal theories, but the state has to provide what they can. Large cities and small will run out of responders in the first 10 minutes. Probably no one will answer the 911 system anyway. To reduce violence, these proposals are usually accompanied with firearm restrictions in the form of years of paperwork and fees to apply to even possess a gun. Should police be defunded, the United States Attorney General William Barr said you would have increases in vigilantism and increases in chaos in the city. It's been shown that more killings would likely result. Lisa Bender, president of the Minneapolis City Council, dismissed concerns from anyone worried about not having police to call. They have the votes necessary to defund and close the entire Minneapolis Police Department. This foolish social experiment will cause more victims. When police are slow to respond due to a call for service overload, people die. We know that. When criminals know that no one at all is coming, imagine the result. The Guardian reported that Baltimore saw a brutal rise in murders after police pulled back there. They abandoned their precincts and left. Apparently they had no choice, but either stay in place and die or abandon the post, and there'll be investigations of that, I'm sure. The new movement to defund and close local police departments will certainly cause more home invasions, rapes, and murders. This will especially be true in poor neighborhoods where private security is beyond the financial reach of residents. In areas where police are not available due to riot constraints, we have already observed a huge increase in violent crime. What happens is you have a community of emboldened criminals. All of the cops are biased is crap based on the assumption that police shootings have racial overtones. Exhaustive studies of police use of deadly force, the gigantic research book, Deadly Force, What We Know, is written by William Geller and Michael S. Scott, clearly shows no racial bias in police shootings. That is crap. More white suspects are shot than black suspects, period, overall, year after year since they first had constables going on patrol. Most black suspects are shot by black officers. White officers tend to hesitate when confronted by minority suspects, knowing there'll be racial investigations and overtones. Minority officers don't worry about that. They just stay alive. The Minneapolis, Minnesota experiment, if implemented, will cause unspeakable crime. The inmates will truly be running the asylum. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man. Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. You can check out all our recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen episodes. Please patronize our friends and supporters. We'll be back next Thursday on our website, firedupwithboberwin.com, on YouTube at the American Guns and Glory Network, and numerous other websites, television, and radio station. When watching any media, just click subscribe and new shows will be sent to your computer or phone automatically. Please forward these broadcasts to your friends. Our logo merchandise, hats, shirts, and books are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. And please remember, the audio portion is repeated on the Nevada Talk Network all across Nevada, Saturdays at noon. You can check out all the stations at KELY1230.com. Thank you so much for supporting Fired Up. We'll have more on this subject, obviously, next week, because there was more stuff going on today with the government apparently, or the rioters, taking over part of New York City like they owned it and telling the police they can't be there. What a disaster for our country. Have a great afternoon. Stay safe.